the last episode of WandaVision?
I haven't yet, actually, so no spoilers.
Well,
Wait,
we
what?
won't spoil it. Jump right in. It was pretty crazy.
My God.
I won't say
so-
what happens, Jared, but it's pretty great.
Wait, Jared, you haven't watched it yet?
No, obviously I watched it.
Okay, I was about to be very upset.
So, how should we go about this? Should we start from the beginning, run episode through episode, or do you want to just talk about it as a whole?
I think first we should discuss the most recent, just kind of like our initial just take on the episode without going into anything deep diving, and then we'll go back and work our way up to present day.
Awesome.
So,
Quicksilver, bro.
oh my gosh. Because Jacob, I know we had that conversation before where you basically predicted what was going to happen next.
Dude, I'm so mad we didn't record that.
Man,
I'll never have the bragging rights for that.
But dude, you were dead on just about everything.
Man, I'm so mad because I predicted that it would be heavily based on House of M.
Mm-hmm.
I predicted that they would heavily imply Mephisto, but it would probably be fake.
Yep.
And then
Although I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure that's going to be the case.
I don't know. I think that even the show's kind of saying, "Oh, look, it might be Mephisto, but it's probably not."
Right. They've done a very good job of setting themselves up to go many different directions.
Right.
Which is good. But
So is this
gosh,
like the way the X-Men are leading up into it?
it seems like it.
Okay, there was one line, and it's so bizarre because people are just spinning in their seats trying to figure out. So let me see if I can find it. So whenever Vision was rocking the baby, he said he was reading to him from Charles Darwin, which implies evolution, which implies X-Men,
Oh my
the
gosh.
next stage of evolution.
Yeah.
But
I didn't even think about that.
I have no idea if that's where they're heading with that. Though.
Could that just be another throwaway? Like if they don't bring Mephisto into it, like the whole devil's in the details thing?
Maybe. I just don't know. It's so weird. If this is how they set up the X-Men, it would be legendary.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
Imagine-
we know multiverse is coming into play, and that's going to be a big thing in Phase 4, right?
Oh yeah.
But man, it sets them up for a really good way to bring X-Men into it.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, I don't have a clue how they could bring. I don't even understand how Quicksilver came into it.
Yeah.
Played by
Okay.
someone else.
They brought
Plus-
not just back from the dead, but back from a dead franchise.
Right.
My gosh.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
I've seen a couple different theories as to kind of how Quicksilver even got there in the first place. One being that, whenever there's that moment in the most recent episode where the two kids are talking, and Wanda's like, he'll always be your brother and you'll always be his. And they ask if she ever had a brother. She loses concentration for a second and she reverts back, kind of like how she does in the time when Geraldine is talking to her, right?
Mhm.
About Ultron and everything. So the theory is when she loses that concentration, she accidentally bends reality and opens up a way for a separate universe version of her brother to manifest.
Hmm.
Which, Jacob, you can correct me on this because I don't know as much about the comics as you do. But in the comics, Scarlet Witch, Wanda's powers, it's like bending or changing reality, right? Is that not kind of how it's explained?
It's so this is the thing. The comics do kind of a terrible job explaining it most of the time.
Okay.
But her powers are supposed to be probability manipulation.
Okay.
So basically her powers are supposed to be that she kind of chooses how reality plays out. She's basically dictating the multiverse in a way. She's being oh, well, I want this to happen, so I'll make it so. You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay, well then yeah, that kind of lines up actually, because if you're looking at many worlds interpretation, many worlds theory, the whole idea is when an event could happen, there's a separate universe where it did happen, right?
Yeah.
So if she's saying the probability of this being my brother, this version of Quicksilver, I'm causing that to be 100% for this reality, right? Is that kind of how that works?
Sort of, yeah. It's but House of M is really the only story they greatly explore that.
Okay.
It's like for this. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong about that because I'm not the biggest fan of Scarlet Witch, but
Sure.
like as far as I know, that's the biggest event that like has ever explored her ability to change stuff like that.
Okay.
In fact, I think it's the first time she ever did something that to that grand a scale.
Interesting.
So you're saying every time she loses focus, she kind of leaves an opening for something she can't control to happen?
Or
Like,
she's subconsciously causing it to happen.
Kind of how, what's his name? Oh, God. The boss? Mr. Hart? He started choking.
Oh, yeah.
Can y'all explain what the point of him choking and then how Dee Dee started bleeding the episode after? Because I still don't really understand how she lost control of that.
When y'all want me to drop my... What's that?
No, I was just wondering, is it because people like in that universe is like threatening her and Vision? But what's your theory?
Okay, so I have a grand theory, and it is kind of insane.
Okay.
So, like, all right, so I think that Agnes is kind of in control of everything. I don't think it's Wanda at all.
I agree with that.
Okay, so here's what's really weird, right? So in the I went back and watched all the episodes. In episode 1, whenever they're talking, the guy starts pushing Wanda and Vision saying, "Where are you from? What's your history?"
Mm-hmm.
And Wanda and Vision both look incredibly confused.
Mm-hmm.
They can't figure it out. And then he starts choking when he pushes too far.
Exactly.
And so I think that's Agnes pulling the brakes and saying, "No, we don't want her to remember."
Right, because there's a moment. Well, tell you what. We'll go back to that in a second. Let's go back to episode 1, and let's work our way up to present day.
Okay.
So, overall thoughts on the pilot episode, for lack of a better term.
I think it was like, at first, without knowing the context of later episodes, it's like just kind of a fun romp.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But it's like, it's not very story oriented until you kind of figure out some details, and then it becomes more story oriented later. It's
Sure.
very weird.
Yeah. I thought that for a pilot episode, it was really good.
Okay.
I enjoyed it just because Ashley could watch
more
it
or less.
with
I mean,
me.
I don't think it did anything groundbreaking.
All right. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think
it's
it
hard
did anything
to say that
groundbreaking, but I think for a pilot episode, it worked perfectly.
Right. I mean, it can't really do anything groundbreaking because the whole bit is that it's
No.
it's a
Yeah.
reference to something else, right? It's a parody of something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also a mystery. They don't want to give away too much of the story just yet.
Right. Which I know when the first episode came out, I saw a lot of mixed opinions on it. As someone who really enjoys like the old corny sitcoms of Dick Van Dyke Show and stuff like that, I really enjoy it. Just because that's not it's not a style of entertainment that we really see anymore. That kind of
People
over
were
the
saying
top
that they were
corniness.
bored because they expected it to be Marvel. They were expecting a lot more, especially after a whole Marvel drought.
Right.
And then they come back to this where it's more like, I don't know, it's leading up
That was
to
one thing. I thought
crazy stuff.
I thought the pilot was very much a slow burn
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing.
Which feels very intentional with, like Jacob saying, it being a mystery
Yes.
kind of set up. But I can't remember who I saw mention this. It has very similar vibes to Once Upon a Time season 1.
Huh. Yeah, I never
that-
thought about that.
Which
That's the blonde woman who goes to the town?
What?
Wait, what's Once Upon a Time? That's where the blonde woman goes to the town. And then she meets these fairy tale characters.
Yes.
Is that the show?
yes, Storybrooke.
And he sticks the landing.
I pulled it.
Oh my gosh. But it has kind of that vibe to it at times, which we know as the series goes on, it's just becoming closer to that with the whole idea of like this town being held hostage, and it's just interesting to see the parallels there. But I think back to the first season, which is more reminiscent of the first couple episodes of WandaVision. And even though it's like setting up for these bigger things to happen, it still does a very good job at like holding your attention and making you want to know what's happening. At times, I do feel like WandaVision in the first episode or two don't do that as well on a first watch. But like Jacob said, going back, you can see where it like sets up those pieces that a lot of people are just gonna miss that first run.
I mean, I don't really know that much about comics, and it still held my attention. Even though I probably missed like most of the Easter eggs, I still caught on to some from the MCU. That,
right.
You know, so.
And for me personally, that's kind of where I felt on it. I really enjoyed it. I was engaged. I was looking forward to the next week so I could see episode 3. But for those that didn't catch on, or not catch on, didn't connect to it as much, whether it be because of the style or whatever, I feel like that was probably the reason why.
Yeah. And even my wife Ashley, who she doesn't really get into any of that.
Your Ashley wife?
She still enjoyed it. She liked it. I think she kind of liked the whole, like, I don't know, cute, whimsical romance of it all.
Yeah.
And even though, like, whereas I barely got any of the Easter eggs, she probably didn't get many at all. She still loved it. I mean, liked it. She didn't love it. But.
Right. It's still entertaining. Even if you don't get, like, all the little things, like you said. You don't see where it's going. It's still fun to watch. But yeah, just one quick little fun tidbit for episode 1. It seems like the whole episode is, like, each episode we know is based around a different decade, right? Episode 1 is pretty obviously based on the Dick Van Dyke Show. As far as, like, the house layout is the same as Dick Van Dyke Show. And then you have the boss and the wife coming over for dinner, which happens quite often in the Dick Van Dyke Show. And the boss kind of has the same personality as the one from the old sitcom. So it's just interesting to see how much care that they are putting towards, like, replicating to an extent, because they don't have to. Like, you can sell it with just the black and white, like, monochrome look. You can sell it with the over-the-top acting. But they're going so far as to do, like, the personalities are the same, and some of the character names are callbacks. And
Okay, so something really crazy. They actually brought Dick Van Dyke on to replicate the style.
Did they really?
He was actually there, and they got him to help, like, set up everything and kind of bounce ideas off of him, being like, hey, is this how this would have worked back then?
That's incredible. I did not know that.
Yeah, they really went for it, and that's what I find kind of amazing, is that they were all in on this style instead of, like, just kind of half doing it to get through it.
I mean, you look at just, like, I know earlier on we kind of joked about how long the credits are for these episodes.
Yeah, I hated that.
Yeah.
I still hate it.
But if you, like, take a second and you take a step back and you're like, oh my gosh, how many people went into making this television series as opposed to one of the big, like, blockbuster movies? There's a huge amount of people working on this project, and they're treating it with just as much respect and just as much care as, like, Endgame, Infinity War, the big, like,
shows.
Yeah. So they're really blurring that line between television and movies in the MCU, which is good to see, because I feel like that's going to carry on into the rest of Phase 4, hopefully.
Something kind of clever that I love is that the fake credits, you know, where it says starring Wanda and Vision, the people that they list as, you know, doing all this stuff as actual members on the staff.
That's really
helping
good.
out. I'm like, that's so cool. Like, just so that way, because it's actually part of the story. It's not the part that people skip.
Right. Nice little touch of detail there. Dang. Yeah.
You skip the credits at the end?
Yeah, I gotta go. I skipped them when I rewatched them, but I definitely sat through them the first round.
Did you actually, though?
You'll never know. I
skipped like 30 seconds and kept skipping 30 seconds to see if I was missing something. And
I'm not going to lie. I may have done that. I did the opposite. I didn't watch it the first time, but then I was like, I need to make sure I didn't miss anything. So then I sat through the freaking credits, and it was awful.
You took one for the team.
I did. I didn't even watch the episode again for the credits. I just watched the credits. Oh gosh.
It's crazy how thought out each line is, with it being entertaining also, while adding like to the setting up the future.
Oh,
also
yeah.
giving callbacks to the past. I don't see how they do it while making it so entertaining.
Yeah, it's a very impressive.
I'm sure their budget's
piece.
huge per
Oh,
episode.
yeah. Definitely. But overall, episode 1, solid. Episode 2.
So I feel like it's also kind of more of the same with episode 2. I feel like, honestly, this is like the one where like, it's kind of hard to tell they changed decades for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just kind of the case with the sitcoms between the 50s and the 60s anyway. Not a whole lot changed. You definitely see some of the camera angles change, and you see a lot more outside scenes, which is interesting. That's not something that you would really see in the 50s.
Yeah.
But 60s, they started to play around a little more with that.
Yeah, the second episode is actually when I noticed like a sort of pattern, and maybe I'm wrong about this too.
Okay.
But it looked like every time that there seemed to be like a sort of reality breaking event for them, or something that like broke the illusion, it would morph them into the next decade, essentially, with the show style. Because I didn't really, and maybe it was just me, because I didn't really notice the change in like decade style of like filming and all that until Wanda went outside and found the little drone.
Well, when when Wanda goes out and she sees the drone, the camera style changes to be more like a modern TV show, right? It doesn't necessarily jump to the next decade. It jumps all the way.
That's what I meant. It's like it changes style, essentially.
Oh yeah.
And the same thing happened at the end of the episode.
Yep.
When the beekeeper showed up, and then
that
she
nice
reverses
zoom
that and everything
shot.
goes color.
Yep.
One thing that episode 2 has, I think, some of the biggest stuff for figuring out how the story works.
Okay.
From the very beginning, because the intro, right? The whole intro scene where they do the it's like all animated and everything.
The Bewitched callback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So something I noticed on second rewatch that I thought was absolutely crazy was at the very end of it, all the Wanda and Vision are sitting on the couch, and a bunch of the cast members are in the window saying WandaVision, right? But Agnes is inside the house, peeking over from a door.
Huh.
And I'm like, so that's like pretty heavy symbolism to me that she's, symbolically in on it. You know what I mean?
That seems like some good foreshadowing to me, for sure.
Agnes.
Dang.
Yeah, I think in like you're talking about the previews, right? Whenever it, or not the previews, but whenever it kind of played the theme song.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Was it the second episode? They also had the neighbors peeking in through their windows in cartoon form, and it kind of like showed like they're in on it too.
Well, what I'm saying is like you had all the neighbors on the outside of the window, but Agnes is inside the house.
Oh,
kind of like she has more control over the situation.
That.
Right, and like they're peeking over a window, which doesn't look creepy, right? But Agnes peering through a doorway, that's kind of creepy. Yeah.
Right.
Well, she showed her authority over what's the man? Who's the neighbor? Bigger.
Oh shoot! Crap! I know who you're talking about.
Herb. So,
yes.
She showed her authority over Herb because he was so close to revealing something to Vision that was really important, and she was like, shut up.
Right. Which is interesting because that actually goes in tandem with what Jacob said about episode 1 with the boss starting to choke. It's right when they're about to reveal something.
When we keep jumping back and forth because that was episode 3 and I'm about to jump back to episode 1, just something I forgot to mention.
It's all right.
So you had mentioned before, Ryan, about and not on the podcast, but you mentioned before when we were just talking about it, about how you thought it was really cool that whenever he starts, Mr. Hart starts choking, Mrs. Hart says stop it, and starts looking at Wanda and says stop it. But if you really think about it, that episode sets up where Agnes lives. She's the neighbor to her right. She says I'm the neighbor to your right. And so Mrs. Hart is looking at Wanda, yes, but she's also looking to the neighbor to the right.
Interesting.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
And I just, because it's just kind of odd, you know, because like, why even bring up that she's the neighbor to the right unless that's what you're trying to, you know, set up for that later bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, I agree with you, Jacob. I definitely think that Agnes is the one kind of orchestrating the whole thing. Although I don't know if she's working alone. I think there might be someone else involved with that, which is a whole separate thing that I'll get to later. But
yeah, and one more thing about Agnes too, just because this is something that I also didn't pick up until I rewatched it, was she keeps talking about her husband, but we never see him.
Mephisto.
Well, I don't know if it's Mephisto, but it's just kind of. But one comment she makes in episode 2.
You're talking about Ralph, right?
Yes. Well, actually, no. Sorry, it's episode 3. But in episode 3, she mentions that Ralph looks better in the dark, which makes me wonder: is he dead? Is he a literal corpse, and he looks better in the dark because you can't see him that well?
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get any info on my thought is, what if Ralph just like isn't doesn't exist in this world, right? There is no Ralph, and she's just using that to kind of get in with Wanda and be like, oh, I have a husband just like you. Like I don't know if she's just trying to relate to Wanda in that way, because the fact that we never see Ralph, and you know we don't see just jumping ahead again, but in episode 4 when they're like putting together who's in this town, there's no Ralph. And to that fact, there is also no Agnes. She just is there with no other person associated with her.
There's no telling how many decoys is in the show to like steer us away.
Right, which is what makes it tricky to talk about, because I mean, going
Ralph
back
could
to
just be another red herring.
Exactly. I mean, looking back at episode 2, like we said, we have the whole devil's in the details and Agnes saying that's not all he's in. Which is that a reference to? Well, we know it's a reference to Mephisto in some way, but does that hint at anything, or is it just a fun little like callback? Who knows?
Okay, but one thing that can't be a callback, that this has to mean something, is like, and this is something I didn't realize until I went back, because you know later on the episode's directly spelled out to you, but in episode 2 everyone keeps saying in unison, it's for the children. It's for the children, and there are no children.
Exactly.
So why would Wanda, if she's in control of that, do that? You know what I mean?
Well, to me, it seems like the whole thing is a ploy to get these 2 twins. Right. That's the children. It's for those children.
And that's what I kind of wonder is, does that broadly mean all of this is for the children?
Right.
This entire setup.
I think it is. I think that's going to be like the linchpin to the whole thing.
You think
the children?
After watching, what is it, episode 5 that we're on right now?
Yeah, we just saw 5.
Yes.
So after watching that, they're trying to make us think that Wanda's in control, and possibly she's not, and it's someone else just making her feel that way, but actually steering the wheel.
Exactly, because if you go all the way, again, jump ahead, episode 5, whenever Vision like releases Norm from Wanda's oversight, quote unquote, he never says Wanda. He only says her. Her. She's in my head. You have to stop her.
Yeah.
Which coincidentally works for both of them. But it's worth noting that nowhere so far has it been shown that Wanda's the one doing this, right? As a matter of fact, Vision even says, I have to believe it was subconscious at first. I don't believe that you like started it, right? You're just continuing it, which seems to resonate with Wanda in a way that not much else he says in that scene does, which to me looks like he's right. I don't think Wanda started this whole thing, even though she's clearly aware of what's happening now. But another interesting thing, I know I'm jumping, like I said, we're jumping around here, but episode 5, whenever Agnes comes in, right? Agnes very clearly is steering the narrative in that opening scene.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to watch the children. They're just like, no, don't do that. Wanda doesn't say, no, let her. Agnes just breaks and is like, hey, I'm going to do this again because you want me to watch the children. She straight up says, you want me to watch the children.
And that is not consistent with how other characters break either. Because, like, when the dude is, like, clearly she has a lot of control in that situation.
Exactly.
But when Norm is released, he's like, oh my gosh, I have got to call my family.
Right.
I've got to get out of here.
Because he doesn't know what's happening there. Exactly. But I don't know. It's just interesting that she's the one that's kind of deciding where the show goes from moment to moment. And it's been that way since episode 1. Agnes is kind of the one that steers it.
Yeah.
It's just a lot more like in your face in the beginning of episode 5.
You know what I love about the show from like what we're used to in shows when you see a character get pregnant? It is like a season to 2 season thing. In this one, it's a 1 episode thing.
It's a 1 episode thing.
We got it out of the way and we can move on. And it's not all about that.
Oh my God.
I like that.
Yeah, you like that?
I'm so sick of that. It's in every single series you watch. We don't have to go through that on this one, and the writers knew that.
It just happens in like, oh my gosh, what, 20 seconds? No,
Yeah.
more than that. Oh my gosh.
But I like that. I don't know. It was pretty cool, but it also makes you wonder. I mean, obviously they're going to keep the kids, and Wanda's, or I think that they'd keep the kids, but it just, if it happens so quickly, I feel like they could take it away just as quick to where like those kids are no longer part of the show or the story. Especially
Right.
with it being like a reality that she's probably conjured.
Well, then that begs the question: are the kids even real?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that we can conclusively say in episode 2, Wanda may be starting to figure out what's going on. This isn't real, but she does not know yet.
No.
So that means she couldn't have been the one to conjure these children up.
Exactly.
Because, like, here's a quote that I wrote down just because I thought this was really interesting. So Monica or Geraldine, or, you know, however you want to call her, she asked her name and she says, I'm Geraldine, because obviously she doesn't know. She's still fitting into this world. But then Monica says, I actually don't know what I'm doing here. And then Wanda says, I'm beginning to feel that way myself. And then later on, Wanda, you know, she reverses her position on this later when she knows for sure what's going on. But Wanda, whenever she goes up to the talent show and Vision's not acting right, she tries desperately to tell Vision about the weird stuff she saw. And this is the last time she ever does so.
Interesting. I didn't even think about that. Dang.
So I think it's just kind of impossible to think that like Wanda, at least up till episode 2, had anything to do with everything going on, at least consciously.
Yeah.
And even after episode 2, she's not in control. Like
No.
she can kick people out, so to speak, but she doesn't really have any say over where the show goes.
And here's a quote from season 2 as well, because I can't figure out what this means. Okay, so it's when she's talking to Dottie, right? And she says, Dottie says, I've heard things about you and your husband. And Wanda said, I'm not sure what you've heard, but I don't mean mean you or your husband any harm. And then Dottie says, I don't believe you. And then she breaks free, so this is not her talking, because then when she breaks out of it, she says, who are you? So what does that mean?
Yeah, that doesn't really fit, does it?
I mean, it might just be a plot hole, but I don't know. I feel like it has to mean something.
No,
'cause they-
yeah,
there
it's not a
are
plot
zero
hole.
holes.
It's not a plot hole. There's no way.
Hey, what's the name of the podcast that we're doing right now? What was it? Capital Gains? Because
I don't know that got officially
alright, so
decided on.
so let's take a moment for our advertisement. What's up, guys? So SeatGeek is an amazing app that lets you buy tickets anywhere. It's literally the easiest way possible. You have seen them help me surprise my friends with brand new cars. Please help. If you ever buy tickets to literally anything, click the link in our description. Use promo code Capital Gains to get $20 off your first purchase. Please enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Oh my god.
We were saying...
We got
Sorry, guys,
exactly
I'm a little
no
low
money
on
for doing
funds.
this.
We got exactly nothing.
Pay bills.
And now the name is locked. Thanks a lot, Cole.
It's not a real code. I think. We can
Okay,
still change
now
the
we need to
name.
cut in Wanda going no, and then reversing the podcast.
Oh
Yeah.
my god! You think I won't? I'll freaking do it. Oh my word!
I spent the last 15 minutes trying to find a script. I was trying to set that up.
That's what you've been doing this whole time.
Yeah. So the last few times I've been speaking, I was like trying to find that script that people always use.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
Man, at least you didn't go the
cover the
normie
big
route and do
question.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Can we even say their name? I think we can.
Oh, maybe. Hey, free advertisement.
Hey, there you go. I mean, that's kind of their whole shtick, anyway, isn't it?
And hey, if Raid Shadow Legends, if you want to,
Hey, yeah, like,
hit
you
us
know
up.
what? I'll play the game for a few weeks. That's fine.
Oh man.
Oh my word!
all right.
God.
Question time.
All
What is
right.
everybody's thoughts on Vision's lifeless corpse? Go ahead.
Oh my gosh.
Terrifying.
Jeez.
What a haunting image that was.
It's so well done, though. Like that
It
whole
was
scene is just
Probably my favorite visual thing that they did in the entire series
It's
so far.
beautiful.
Especially in the first
Dang.
couple episodes, they flick it off where it's like this happy, show, and then you get hit with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the third episode. I don't know, but
No,
is
it's
crazy.
fourth episode.
fourth episode.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It hits you with some pretty hard stuff, especially seeing that vision.
Yeah.
Wasn't,
Here's the question. Vision's dead, right? Like, Vision is
Okay.
definitively dead.
No.
Okay, so are we going to jump over episode 3 just because I'm okay with it because I feel like after episode 4, episode 3 is pretty well explained.
That's fair.
There's not much to it after you see episode 4.
That's
But-
fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're jumping into episode 4, there is something crazy, and this is what I told everyone. Maybe I didn't tell Cole this, but I am telling you, I know something that's going to happen at the end of the series because of episode 4.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, so it's quickly jumped over, and nobody talks about it.
Do we give a spoiler warning? Since your last prediction
no.
was so accurate.
Oh, true.
Hey, we're already spoiling. We are deep in this, man.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so does anyone remember what all the experts were experts in?
Oh gosh, hold on.
Clown car.
Chemical engineer.
Who
The people that Darcy was talking to.
Yeah, and she's astrophysics, obviously, and
Right.
she has more to do with figuring out what's going on with the anomaly.
I don't remember off the top of my head now.
They were nuclear biology, chemical engineering, and artificial intelligence. So I think that we can say pretty definitively that either these were the people working on Vision's corpse at Sword, or at the end of the series, the only way that Wanda will give up this reality is if they fix the Vision and give it back to her. I think that's has to be what happens.
Can they? Like without the
I
stone?
think-
Yeah, that's the thing that throws it off for me. The stone is what gives Vision life, right? Because Vision was artificial intelligence before. He was Jarvis, but he wasn't
Well, I mean,
alive.
The theory was stupid.
well, okay, so here's the thing. The whole thing
Do
about
better,
Vision,
Jacob. Come on.
well, comic-wise, this isn't a big jump for me because comic-wise, Vision never had the Mind Stone. That was never a thing. So he was always just kind of a robot. So, and also
Yeah.
that's a comic thing that happened. Vision got dismantled, and then they rebuilt him in kind of a whitish body.
Oh, I could see that. I mean, anything's possible for them to like make it a thing, and that was
Right.
jumped over because that was a joke. But they've said many of jokes that actually had some truth to the
Right.
show. So
For sure.
it could
So
happen.
that's what I think has to happen because in episode 5, I think it was, they tried doing hostage negotiation tactics with her. Monica asks her, "What do you want?"
Yep.
And then she says, "I have what I want, and nobody will take it away from me." So she gets Vision back, then she has no reason to keep doing this or
That's
keep
true.
playing along at least.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just in this like universe where the sitcom is taking place, right, in this town,
Right.
do we think that they're just like whoever's in charge of this, are they just like puppeteering Vision's dead corpse around and making Wanda see it as the Vision?
I think it's actually him. Like, I think he's actually back to life, but I think that what they've shown is that Wanda has the ability to remember her memories because she still has her mind. But Vision literally does not have his mind anymore, so he has no way of remembering past events, only what's happened inside Westview.
Interesting.
Well, I don't know about her children. How would her children lead this reality? You know, like, if they rebuilt Vision, I don't know, what's to stop, like, Wanda from, I don't know, conjuring anybody up, or Tony Stark back to life, which, like, obviously wouldn't happen, but, like, is everything that stays in this reality stuck there, or can the Vision in reality come out?
I think if Vision takes one step out of Westview, he'll go back to being a corpse. And that's what I think will happen, because the promos showed Vision trying to escape Westview. I think he will escape successfully, and he'll just revert back to a corpse.
And he'll just die on the spot.
Right.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So do we think there's any chance of Vision coming back after the series is over?
I think so.
You
I
think
that
there
he
is?
will. Yeah, I think that they'll rebuild him.
Okay. Interesting. I don't. I think he will stay dead.
I think Wanda's gonna die at the end of the show after many seasons.
I think there's a movie coming out that says otherwise.
Yeah.
Hasn't
what movie? What are you talking about? Wait.
Elizabeth Olsen, right? That's her name that plays Wanda.
Yes.
Hasn't she already said that she's in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness? Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I wanted to make sure.
You have the audacity to make fun of my theory, and then you come out saying she's gonna be dead. Boy.
My word.
Oh me.
Well,
can you imagine, like, if
because, you know, what if I'm right? By the end of this, it's gonna be pretty awesome.
No, you're not.
Vision comes back to life
right.
and starts puppeting Wanda in revenge for puppeting him.
Oh my word.
Hi, I'm Wanda. We are saved the multiverse. Vision, I can see you. I'm not Vision. I'm Wanda.
Oh my god.
Ryan, so, like, before Infinity War came out, the three of us made a bet on who would die, who would eat the bullet.
Okay.
And the movie coming up. Me and I think Jacob were way off, but I think Jared was almost spot on. So
Yeah,
Jared,
I remember winning the bet and not getting anything for it. So
well, Jared cheated because the thing was, me and Cole predicted like 2 or 3 characters, and Jared predicted everyone. So by default, he was closest.
All right, that's a little bit less impressive now.
Let's go leave that out.
You weren't going to mention that part, huh?
No.
I don't remember that being my prediction, but I just know that I got it right.
Oh my word. It's ridiculous.
I don't know. My theories have always been like exceedingly dark, and Marvel's never gone exceedingly dark on us.
I mean, that might change though.
So, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
They have little
I
glimpses.
figure though that they'll bring. I think my prediction is that by the end of this show, that both Wanda and Vision will be alive again.
Okay. Interesting.
I would honestly love if Disney went the route of, like, she just goes straight up villainy, but I really doubt it.
Yeah,
would like that
I
too.
wish that would happen, just because I think she would be a sick villain. But
I mean, she'd have the perfect, like, story to be a villain. She'd be likable.
Yeah.
And Marvel has yet to give us a true good redemption arc. Like, I
That's
feel like that would be
true.
a good redemption arc, is bringing her from the brink.
But here's the other thing about that. I'm pretty sure it's through this series. It's just about showing that Wanda is the most powerful. Like, she's just
Oh yeah,
absurdly
I'm glad they addressed that.
overpowered. If they don't make her a villain, doesn't that just kind of trivialize whatever villain does show up?
Maybe, but at the same time, like, everyone's only as strong as the writers allow them to be.
Right, which my thing is, like, hopefully, like, if they go the villain route, maybe that can be like some kind of justification as to like why she is insanely powerful. It's like it takes all of the Avengers / X-Men, whoever they bring in, to take her down.
I'm just saying. I mean, you can create alternate realities all you want, but Galactus is still going to eat your world. So.
Well, I guess that brings me to the next thing. Jacob, do you think that they will bring the rest of the X-Men in? And if so, will it be a reference to the cast of the X-Men movies? Or do you think it will recast completely?
I think that they will completely... I don't know, because I don't think the cast they have now is bad.
I don't either. That's the thing.
But I think that Disney just knows that they're not going to force MCU watchers to watch the X-Men movies after the last two tanked.
That's fair.
If anyone is saved at all, it would be the current Magneto and Professor X.
I would agree with that.
So.
But the thing is, like, I feel like even more than them, Quicksilver was probably the most popular character to come out of the new brand of X-Men.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, like, it makes sense that they bring him back, especially since, you know, his connections with Wanda in the show. So there's no telling if everybody gets recast or... Maybe, I mean, one thing that I think would be cool is if they actually maybe just shied away from bringing back the main X-Men cast and instead focused on more lesser-known mutants.
Okay.
Or something.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a ton of X-Men. Like, I would love for Gambit to finally get a chance.
Yeah.
and not a crappy movie.
Dang.
That's what the show's doing. It's bringing the lesser known Avengers to light, you know?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what the whole MCU has done. Iron Man was not that popular.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And now he's just a household name.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, neither was Thor or Captain America for that matter.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy. Because, like, honestly, though, like, Spider-Man was always their biggest name, but they always pushed Avengers, even though, like, they never really got recognition. So it's kind of cool that there's, like, this whole backlog of stories that they can pick from that have not been tapped yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see which X-Men they decide to bring in, because you know they're going to. They have to. They just got the rights to it.
Yeah.
I kind of doubt that WandaVision's going to be the big bridge, though. I think that maybe events in WandaVision will set it up, but I don't think that we're going to see like X-Men coming through a big red portal, you know.
No, I don't think so either. I think, like you said, it's going to be set up. If the
show is going to bridge it, it's either going to be WandaVision or the Doctor Strange movie.
I feel like it has to be Doctor Strange.
You don't think it'd be Loki?
What's that?
You don't think it'd be Loki because he's going through different like realities, right?
I think that Loki's just going to forever be in his own alternate reality until they decide that they need him back in the movies.
I honestly don't think Loki's ever going to come back into mainstream Marvel.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't either. I think him and Thor had their whole run through.
I think Chris Hemsworth is probably not coming back after Love and Thunder. Wait, is Hemsworth, right? That's Thor?
Yes.
Yeah.
I doubt he's come back after Love and Thunder, so I kind of doubt they need Loki to be in the main universe again.
What makes you say he won't come back after Love and Thunder?
I just, maybe he won't come back, or maybe it's not that he won't come back, it's just that I doubt he'll play a prominent role again for a really long time.
Imagine how much they're paying him.
Yeah.
It's got to be ridiculous.
I mean, he was part of, like, I guess the big three of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the other two have already dropped out.
I kind of wonder if it's a contract thing. Like, they technically have him for one more since he wasn't in Civil War.
So he has to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
His movies haven't been great, unfortunately, besides Ragnarok. Ragnarok is
it hasn't been great, but he has one of the only ones who's gotten 3 movies.
Right, that's the interesting thing about it. Which, like, thank goodness, or we wouldn't have Ragnarok.
Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor were definitely 3 of the most heavily pushed characters in the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And now we're down an Iron Man and a Captain America.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Hulk would have been if it weren't for the logistics of the Hulk movie sort of being in the MCU and sort of not, like, that whole thing.
So one thing that WandaVision may be setting up and everyone's been talking about is that maybe WandaVision is setting up the Fantastic Four, and I would love that, but I kind of doubt it.
It would be so funny, though. Just to give them something.
Well, everyone's latched on to some quotes, and I can't figure out, I don't know how I feel about them. Like, one thing they said at the very beginning was that they have a space program that now has limited numbers. So maybe, specifically
Like
4.
4 people.
Yeah. Or maybe 5 if they remake the original Fantastic Four movie.
Gosh.
And then later on, Monica says that she knows an astrospace engineer that would, love to help out, and starts texting them. And so they're like, oh, maybe she's texting Reed Richards. And I'm like, I don't know.
I doubt it.
I could see John Krasinski coming in for scale. So if this is what it takes to get John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, I will do it.
Honestly, though, that would be some good casting.
They pull Chris Evans through the door as the Human Torch. That's pretty crazy.
They stick old man.
That'd be so funny.
They stick old man Steve Rogers in like the booth again, and he comes out as the Human Torch.
That's hilarious.
That'd be great.
The funny thing is, like, as ridiculous as that is, I don't think it's going to happen, obviously. But with this whole multiverse thing, they can do whatever casting they want and justify it.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of ridiculous.
Me and Jared said it'd be really funny if whenever they get into, like, the 2000s-ish, right? They did an Office parody, and then John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic shows up.
God. Now, did they already say that they were doing an Office parody?
Did they really?
I thought
I would
so.
love that.
I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me, but I thought so.
Recast Norm as Rainn Wilson. Please do it.
That would be so funny. Oh my gosh.
Mr.
I still want them to
Vision
do
put
a
stapler in Jello again.
I still want them to do like a parody of one of Tim Allen's sitcoms.
Oh
Just
yeah.
have Vision grunting the whole time.
Yes.
Vision, I broke the multiverse.
Oh my word. So we just got through, well, what decade are we in? That was the 80s, right?
Yes.
Family Ties, that was the 80s.
Yes. And Full House.
Yeah.
I think.
You think it's going to go Full House next?
No, I think that they already did Full House.
No, because Full House was the 90s.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I don't watch that show.
That's fair. It's an awful show, in my opinion. So for 90s, I can think of 2 possible sitcoms they could pull from. One is more likely than the other. Full House seems to be the obvious choice, right?
Yeah.
Man, if they would do a Seinfeld episode, I'd be so happy.
Honestly, I'm kind of wondering as we start revealing the villainous elements if they're going to go a Buffy the Vampire Slayer route.
Was that the 90s?
They might for something more modern.
Was it? It was either 90s or 2000s. Let me look it up.
I thought that was 2000s. I could be wrong.
1990s Home
1992.
Improvement aired though.
So it is the 90s?
Tim Allen
Wait,
dream
no,
was
never
on.
mind. I'm wrong. Hold on. Let me look.
Jared, I'm going with
1997.
97. All right, so that still fits.
It is there.
Thank you, Cole.
It's there. Because they're doing a Halloween
Yeah.
episode, so
I can't-
maybe.
When was Home Improvement, Jared?
1990.
So it's also 90s, so they could do it.
Oh yeah, the dream lives on.
Dang. All right, I'll let you dream.
Behind his bush. That would be
Honestly, though, that might be what they're setting up with her.
great. Yeah.
Gosh, that's great.
Man.
I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Oh,
So-
I want to.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just want to throw this out there real quick. I want
Go
to
for it.
understand better about how Nosy Neighbor basically kept coming over, and in the latest episode, she broke character to ask Wanda if like she should run it back because Vision reacted a different way. Can y'all break that down for me? Because I do not. I feel like I don't
Yeah.
understand what
Well,
that was really
Break it
about.
down
To
again.
me, so that's Agnes. First off,
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, I got the name wrong.
no, you're good. That's the
She
one
might
that
also
we've been
go by
saying.
Agatha Harkness.
Right. That's the theory. I'll jump on that in a second. But that's Agnes. That's the one who me and Jacob are saying is probably in like running the whole thing, or at least started it. What I was saying earlier is when she comes in and she's like, "I'm gonna watch the babies" or whatever, and Vision says, "No, I don't want you to do that." Wanda's not the one that says, "No, we're gonna let her do it," or because that would be the case if she was kind of in charge and she was pushing it a certain way, wanted the story to
Right.
go a certain direction. Instead, Agnes breaks character and goes, do you want me to take that again? And even Wanda is taken aback by that. She's like, I'm sorry, what? Like, what are you talking about? And then Agnes, just without any warning, says, you want me to watch the babies. And then Wanda's like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's let her do that. So Agnes is very much like pushing the story to go a certain direction. And keep in mind, a direction that gives her a direct line to the children.
And making it seem like Wanda's in control of what's going on.
Exactly, yeah, because if you break in front of Wanda like that, and you're like, do you want me, as in like, are you in charge of this thing? You want me to do this again in front of Vision, which causes the conflict between Vision and Wanda at the end of episode 5.
See, but is that her like breaking in front of Vision, or is that like the whole thing, like maybe the twins are like a big part of the story, and like she's trying to get closer to the twins because they only age in front of Agnes. That's the only time they age.
That's true.
It's really weird. I can't figure out if that's like, if it's a cause or effect relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Agnes definitely killed that dog, by the way.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's not even a question.
She tried to electrocute him.
Oh, gosh.
Maybe she wanted them to age again when she killed the dog. Maybe she was setting it up, and then the mom, or Wanda, was basically like, nope, don't age, kill it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Some weird, Jacob, what you just said, she tried to electrocute the dog. They weren't going to name the dog Sparky initially. Right, they were going to name it Sniffy. And as soon as that comes up, then Agnes switches. It seems like Agnes causes the thing to electrocute, right? And then they say, "How about Sparky?"
Right.
Either that's her trying to kill the dog then, or it's just another example of her deciding how things play out. And I think that the reason she tried to kill the dog is because, like I said, we haven't seen her husband yet. I think he's dead. And so I think this was her trying to get Wanda to prove if she can actually bring people back from the dead. Actually, that lines up really well with the end of that episode, when the children are like, Mommy, you can do anything, fix the dead. And Agnes looks at Wanda's like, you can do that?
And Wanda's confused because she's never done that before, as far as we know.
Unless she did it with Vision, and we're just not being shown that. But I don't think she did.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And one thing that kind of is a piece of context that I can't figure out where it fits is whenever Monica is talking about her experience, and she says how she like kind of felt Wanda's sadness. We see a short clip of her in the outfit she wore when she took the Vision's corpse in Westview. And so it's kind of weird because it's like, okay, so she came to Westview, right? Like, no one took her there. As far as we know. I mean, it could be that someone took her there, but...
Yeah.
This is... Hold on. When Monica goes in, right, and comes back out.
Right.
The only time that Wanda's ever mentioned in that, she says that she heard Wanda in her head. Which it's possible that she wasn't hearing Wanda, she was hearing Agnes. Possible.
Right, because she said that she felt like sadness, right, loss, and that could be about her Agnes's husband, not about Vision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, that's another example where it could relate to Agnes as opposed to Wanda. I will be extremely surprised if they don't make Agnes the person behind it. I feel like it's set up too well for her not to be.
And plus, like, it's way too late to throw in the devil.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's one thing I almost forgot to mention is the whole giving birth scene. And like all of her powers going off and everything gave me like crazy The Exorcist vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it was shot in a very like horror-ish style, I think.
That's fair. Yeah.
But,
so do we think that? Obviously, I feel like me and Jacob are pretty set on this. I don't think the devil's going to come into play.
Yeah.
I like Jacob said, it's too late. But Jared and Cole, I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
If the devil's going to be in this show?
Yeah.
I I have no idea. I didn't even know that was a Marvel character, a comic book character. Well, I mean, I know, I know there's gods like Thor's and Loki,
Fair.
and then Steve Rogers says in Avengers, he said, "I know what a god," or he says something along the lines of, "I know what a god looks like, and he doesn't look like that." Talking about Thor. So, I mean, maybe there's Jesus, maybe there's Satan. There could be anybody. They make the rules. I don't think so though. Well, you know, they gotta upstep Thanos because they built him up throughout movies. So they gotta find somebody else who's bigger and badder, and the Devil's probably the closest one.
I mean, Jacob, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, knowing a lot about the comics, and Jared as well. Like Cole said, you know, they built up Thanos forever, right?
Yeah.
Do we think they're going to build up another villain over multiple phases, or do you think it'll just be a phase 4 villain?
I think me and Jared kind of feel like we know who the next villain is. At least I feel like we've talked about it before. We know.
Yeah.
Or like, Jared, who you think?
But I'll say this though first. I don't think they're going to do a big built-up villain anymore.
Okay.
I think maybe there'll be like allusions or references to like another villain that might be like a final boss for like a Avengers movie or everyone getting together sort of thing. But I don't think anybody's going to get the same building up treatment that Thanos had.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that they know this bubble is going to pop eventually, and so they kind of got to keep it brief.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think
Plus-
that... Sorry, go ahead,
So I
Jared.
was about to say, plus with the inclusion of TV shows, that makes things a lot harder to like
Right.
keep track of everything. So I don't think that they would go through building up stuff, at least not including the TV shows,
Yeah, I would agree
for
with
like
that.
such a long thing. I could be wrong, but that's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so to answer your question, my guess for who the next big bad would be, I've already said it before, I think it's Galactus.
See, that's what I
The
thought you were
world
going
eater.
to say.
Yeah, I think that's the only character I can think of that's like just so huge. If I ran the MCU, I would make it Doctor Doom, but I feel like it's probably going to be Galactus.
But that's just because you have an obsession with Fantastic Four.
Oh, I love the Fantastic Four. I just want a good Fantastic Four movie. Is that too much to ask?
I mean, apparently. But
They're Marvel's first family. They're the reason Marvel is a thing. Why can't they get a good movie?
What, you're saying you don't like the movie that they got?
I actually have kind of a soft spot for the original movie, but like, I know it's not great.
So bad. Oh my god.
Oh, me.
Okay, so going off of what I think Jared was saying about with TV shows being introduced now, or Jacob, that might have been you saying
That was Jared.
that was Jared. Okay, with TV shows being introduced now, that you don't think they're going to do a big build up.
Could've been me.
So
I don't think that they will. Not
Right.
across like the multiple different.
I tend to agree
mediums
with
they
you
have.
on that. However, I am curious if that leads to a broader point as a whole. Do you think that these like Disney Plus TV shows are going to be essential to follow the story of the bigger like movies they release in theaters? Because if so, that's going to alienate some of their audience, right, from being
Yeah.
able to follow along.
That's why I
4,000
think
IQ play. It's all Disney Plus now, baby. There is no movie theater.
There is no movie theater.
I mean, that could be a fallback if they, theaters start underperforming. They're like, all right, well, guess what's exclusive on Disney Plus now?
Right. I'm curious to see what they do with that. I don't like if COVID hadn't happened, right, and streaming hadn't gotten as necessary. Like it was already popular, but now it's the only way to like really consume digital entertainment outside of cable. But who pays for that? Do you think that WandaVision still would have released on a streaming platform, or do you think they would have found a way to like dual release it, or maybe? I don't know.
I mean, Disney Plus was a thing before even,
COVID.
before COVID and everything.
Right.
And I think 100% it would have stayed Disney Plus because Disney owns Marvel and they're trying really hard to push Disney Plus even
Sure.
before COVID happened. So I don't think that would have changed anything.
Okay, interesting. But do you think
I
that
think WandaVision was always going to be Disney Plus exclusive.
That's fair.
I would agree with that.
Do you think that it's going to be a requirement or necessary to see these Disney Plus shows to follow the overall story?
Like, if I was in charge of everything, I would try my best to make it like a sort of, oh, I get that reference sort of thing in the movie because you watched Disney Plus over I have no idea what's happening because I didn't watch this show.
Right.
Yeah, you try to make the movie like almost standalone in a way. I think it's the best way to go about it.
I agree. But it seems like they're not going to do that with this. It looks like WandaVision's going to lead into some other stuff.
I think it'll lead. They've already said that this will build up to Multiverse of Madness, which is a movie.
Right.
But I think that they won't. Because here's the thing about the Marvel movies is that if you watch all the Avengers back to back without the supplementary material, you can still follow along.
Sure.
You know, it does help to watch the other movies, but you don't have to. And I think that's kind of the vibe they'll go with this too.
Okay.
Well, didn't they have Agent Carter? Was that a show?
Yeah, Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I never watched that, and I follow along just fine.
Well, Agent Carter is a little bit different since it's more of a prequel anyway.
Huh.
And
So
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. always follows the movies instead of the other way around.
Right.
That just is a smart way to do.
I was going to say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually kind of, I think, has the right formula for it. I know when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. first came on, I wanted to watch it just because, like, I don't want to miss anything, right? This may be important. And then as it went on, I'm like, this show kind of sucks now. I don't want to watch it anymore. And I never felt like I was missing something.
Yeah.
There's a great joke by Robot Chicken. It was like whenever Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. first started coming out, it shows like Coulson and whatever her name's Quake now. I don't know what her name was.
Sky.
Yeah, Sky. They're like on a jet, and like you can see Coulson's looking out at a window with binoculars. He's like, oh, Iron Man just flew by, and Sky's like, oh, can I see? And Coulson's like, probably best not.
I mean, that's about it, though. That's about how that goes.
Man, it was like so annoying to me that they wouldn't even attempt to give Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like any leg room to do something.
No, none.
Oh, me.
Gosh. That's funny. But I mean, it also looked like it had the budget of a CW show at times. So.
I think I watched up until the point that they got to the whole Hydra reveal, and then I was like, okay, clearly the movies are just dicking with this show at this point. I can't even watch this anymore.
Oh my word. I think I got a little bit past that, and then I was just done.
Oh man.
Here's how unmemorable it was. I don't remember the last thing I saw in the show.
Oh man. Were we talking about WandaVision?
Yeah, my bad. Right, WandaVision.
Well, I say let's wrap it up here a little bit soon. And so I know we talked about a lot of theories, but instead of theories, why don't we all say real quick, what would you want to see in the show moving forward? Something you'd like to see.
Iron Man.
Okay, somebody other than Cole.
Okay, so based on my theories, the X-Men are going to walk through a portal, then Fantastic Four will show up to figure out how to break this wall. There we go. No, I'm just kidding. So I guess like if I had full control, going forward, I would want to see more of an exploration of like how Vision Vision kind of figures out what's going on and just how he feels about the fact that like he knows he's dead, and if he leaves Westview, he's gonna die, and whether or not like he accepts that or not. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's an interesting dynamic that they could really see. I would also, if it turns out that Wanda, I would probably say that Wanda is not going to turn out to be the big bad, and Agnes will be the big bad, and that would be how I'd ride it too at this point.
Yeah.
So I would say I'd want to see Wanda's point of view as well as like, I would eventually want to see her transition, her thought process of how she went from, oh wow, I'm being controlled to, but do I really want to stop this? I mean, this is everything I've ever wanted.
Yeah.
What if we could get Wanda and Agatha working together?
I would say that's not impossible.
That would be kind of cool. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Love to see Wanda just turn into a villain. I mean, we got to see Bucky go from villain to good guy. I'd love to just see the opposite and be on her team, even though that she's the antagonist.
Yeah.
Or the one steering the show, and making all the problems. I'd love to see that. And Vision kind of fight the person he loves. I would love to see that.
I mean,
I'm kind of mad at myself because I said earlier that there was no good redemption arc, and like Winter Soldier is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. I was thinking that too.
I'm terrible. Whoops. And Winter Soldier 2 is written. Here's the funny thing about Captain America movies, real quick. They're all like Ed Brubaker wrote all the Captain America movies. This one dude, like, he literally wrote these comics, and within the span of 5 years, he made Winter Soldier, the big tie-in points to Civil War, and like a bunch of flashback stuff to like when he was in World War II. So the whole aesthetic of the first movie came from Ed Brubaker, and literally every story beat from then on for the Captain America movies came from him, and I love them. And so that's why I also really love Winter Soldier, because it was one of my favorite stories he did. And so I'm terrible for saying there was no good redemption arc.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, they did a good job with that. I mean, Loki also, he was kind of on both sides the entire way through, but
Oh yeah,
That's true.
kind of had a redemption.
For me, I really like this multiverse thing that they're doing. I'm a big fan of that, especially with, I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but there are rumors, I'll say, of the Spider-Man movie. Do we know if that's confirmed, or is that just...
That's fairly confirmed at this point.
Fairly confirmed. Okay, that's what I thought. What I think would be really fun to see is to see the Marvel universe mirror what the Disney like business is doing, as in they're just like taking all these intellectual properties, right? They're just buying people out. I think it'd be really funny if they just leave that open, so like every time Marvel is able to buy out another studio or get the rights to something else, they just like throw them into the multiverse. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I just want to see them take a monopoly, basically, of the superhero franchise.
That would be dope.
Just like how Disney's going to rule the world one day. So, oh gosh, that would be my hopes and dreams.
And we'll be here to talk about it.
Unless they buy us out too.
Disney, buy us out right now. I'll hear your offer today.
Sell it in a heartbeat. Give us $100. It's fine.
We'll drop SeatGeek.
Oh my word. All right, Cole. Since you know more about this than any of us, what do you want to see happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see this podcast go on to where we can get some money from SeatGeek.
Oh my god.
You were talking about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to make some money. It'd be nice. My wife and my dogs. Nah, I mean, like I said, just like changing Wanda to make her be the villain, but making her be loved at the same time. Like, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thank you for listening. This is awesome. I'd love to keep doing it.
Yeah, this is great. I enjoy this.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, I guess episode 6 will come out. So I can't believe Wolverine's in the TV show. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
And Mr. Fantastic is John Krasinski. All my dreams came true. I am an expert at predicting the show.
Tim Allen episode.
It all happens in Home Improvement. Oh my word.
Oh man.
That's perfect. All right. I guess we'll close it there.
Yep. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for listening.
Yes.
Catch us again next week. All right. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, man. Catch you later.
See you guys.
See you.